Okay, so let me zoom this documentation. I'll not go each and every line by line. Okay. Generally, I will explain the process as per my experience, which may help you all to understand the process in a best way. Okay. So here all gone through SAP module. I hope SAP Metal Management model. You know about the configuration. You know about the process. You know about the transaction. I hope all you're able to understand what I'm going to explain now. Okay. So generally speaking, uh, there are different methodology available, okay, to manage the SAP implementation. Okay, generally any implementation of SAP, right? So we have to follow some methodology. Okay, example, you purchase any mobile, okay, and you want to do some customize in that mobile, then somewhere you have to follow some process. So if you follow this settings, or if you go through this, it'll work out, right? So that is not a challenging one, but when it comes to a big business, okay, where we have to manage, or we have to decide, decision making is very important, right? In that cases, so implementing SAP is always challenging. Okay, so where we manage to follow methodology called ASAP methodology or activate methodology. So why we have to follow different methodology in the implementation time? It depends on the requirement. So as you all know, SAP ECC 6.0, which used by many organizations, 500 Fortune companies, many organizations implemented since 2005, I think. Okay, so used to implement from long time. Okay, so that time used to follow ASAP methodology. What is ASAP methodology? It's a ASAP stands for accelerated SAP. That's it. Okay, accelerated SAP is the abbreviation for ASAP methodology. If anyone asks what is ASAP methodology, you can just give a abbreviation of the same, and in that they may ask more about the phases or brief on the each phases, right? So what is the purpose of uh, designing this SAP and all, right? So what is the use of going each and every phases, that I'm going to explain on the SAP ECC 6.0 ASAP methodology. Here now also few will follow ASAP methodology only for HANA implementation also, but as SAP prefer or suggest, go with activate methodology, which will help business user to understand better, instead of like just going through again and again same methodology. Because after implementing SAP ECC 6.0 for a couple of years or 10 years down the line or 15 years down the line, they would like to see something better process to be followed. And also while implementing the SAP application upon this EC 6.0 to HANA, right? There they look for something better things to be done, or something which they have gone through some pain points during their regular process after implementing SAP EC 6.0. Definitely, they expect much from our end to handle the implementation activity, or maybe greenfield or brownfield implementation. That I'll come to in the next process. Okay, so here once you get into the ASAP process, this is the process to be followed. Generally you all know this, maybe, or not aware about this. Just understand the ASAP methodology has this phases. Okay, first is project preparation, then business blueprint, project realization, final preparation, go live, and production support. These are the phases are there in the process. So what exactly each phases will do, and what are the things we will manage during each and every phases, that I will brief it out. Okay, so what exactly we do in the project preparation? So in the first project preparation, right, so here we will try to get the retrieval of information and resources. Like we understand first, okay, uh, like what are the informations required, what are the inputs required to implement. Example, you will be not knowing about what all the modules need to be added into the application, whether these modules are really required for their business process. Are they are the business is ready to take that kind of activities in the system, and even they are they ready to take up all the resources and all in the process to gather all the information. So that time we discuss more about the project preparation part. Okay, so where we connect with stakeholders, and from the senior level management, from the business. Imagine what is implementation. So it is like we are going to the client who manages business process. It might be manufacturing business, it might be pharmaceutical or aerospace or beverages, food industry. There are many industries are there in the global, right? Wherever you go, you will find many business process. Okay, so to manage their ERP thing, like enterprise resource planning, right? So that process, you have to make it more smooth flowing of that process. Okay, they should not feel like somewhere some data is not updating, somewhere there is a lot of gap between the supplier and customers, or maybe the purchasing side, or there will be inventory issues, there will be stock replenishment is not happening on time, there will be loss due to because of that. They are not able to handle the batches or whatever the manufactured items are coming, like what I can say, shelf life part is not taken care. If there is a serial number process that is not handled in a best way, right? So there are many pain points are there in the business side, which is not managed or handled by existing ERP system or maybe any legacy system. Okay, that case we will suggest, we will support them to get into the SAP world or SAP application, which will help them to handle their process in a best way. So once they decide to implement SAP, then what we should suggest, we should not leave them as it is, right? We should give them proper information, okay, where we discuss more on that. IT side project manager and business side project manager will have a major role to discuss more about the project preparation side. Okay, example, to recruit any module specific consultant to the project or IT side, definitely they should decide how many consultants they required, SD consultant or FICO consultant or WM consultant or maybe PPQM consultant or PM consultant. There are different project system, PS module consultant. So each and every module need maybe associate consultant or a senior consultant or lead consultant, delivery manager, like that they will decide. Project manager will take up that activity from the IT side, and from the business side they will handle their hierarchy in a best way, like who can go and talk to the IT with some knowledge. Generally speaking, like who is having less experience in the process, they cannot discuss much with the IT side people. So that time maybe the senior level management will come and talk about their problems and issues, so they will discuss much about that process. Okay, so efficient way we can make a decision making process with the stakeholder and senior level management. Okay, and we identify the project objectives. What is the project objectives, like how much time it is required, whether it is take 6 months or 9 months or 1 year to implement such process. Okay, during that whether we have to go with existing actions or what, all that things we will discuss in the initial stage of the project implementation. It's called project preparation. Okay, so we will decide who is going to manage the entire process, whether they're capable to take up all the activities, and whether they have a that kind of mindset to get the best thing done. Okay, all that things we decide in the initial stage of the project preparation. Okay, here you can understand working on the out resource getting into the project, and making sure that whether the timeline is like okay, whether this is the right what I can say, duration is okay to handle this kind of requirement. All that we decide in the initial stage, but in future it may extend. Okay, because in the initial stage we plan this, but it may extend because of some other constraint, but it was not discussed in the initial stage, because we cannot discuss everything in the initial stage, right? Maximum we can have all that discussion, and we'll move into the next phase. Okay, what exactly we do in the next phase in the business blueprint? Okay, business blueprint is like what, we are going to create one blueprint, means documentation. Okay, which covers what exactly they have, means as is to be. As is means what, currently what is the process they have, they are following, and what they want to be implemented in SAP system. So that is the thing we will manage during the business blueprint. What exactly we discuss much about the process, like whether we will ask them whether you are going to create any purchase order, what kind of purchase orders you have, whether you have only standard purchase order, whether you have any special procurement process. Okay, and do you create any purchase requisition automatically through MRP run, or are you okay to create the uh, manual creation of purchase requisition. All these things we can discuss in a simple layman process. Okay, in the sense we'll not talk much about the application wise. Okay, we'll talk more about the business process. We'll try to understand, okay, what business process you're following, and we'll tell them there is a proper process we can follow in SAP, and you can create this activity, and which will help you to manage the data in a best way. And we will not talk much about the design or configuration during the ASAP methodology. I'll tell you how we are managing ASAP activate methodology over ASAP. Okay, because during implementation of ECC I never seen that we'll be going and asking the user that whether this configuration is required, whether this is to be added, whether this to be removed. All that we never discussed much on the in the business blueprint level. Okay, majorly we go and say this is the thing to be managed, and this is the data need to be designed, and we used to take the approval of that. Okay, and later in future if they come up with any problem we used to fix it. Okay, but in activate methodology definitely it's a different process. Okay, so how you see here business blueprint in activate methodology, it is something different. Okay, so majorly in the business blueprint time you should know how to handle a business blueprint documentation. Okay, I'll give a reference of that also, how to prepare a business blueprint documentation with respect with the particular module. Okay, example, you imagine for a metal management. Okay, always you should understand from where exactly the process start for the and where it ends. Okay, at least that flow you should have. Okay, if you have gone through SAP metal management module training, right, where you start from the organization structure, then you get into master data, then you get into transaction, then you get into reports, and you understand the business database also, where exactly it gets stored. Okay, but we are not adding all the table level knowledge in the business blueprint. That is not required, but somewhere we'll add transaction codes in the business blueprint. What are the transaction we used to handle this activities? Okay, generally we'll put all the steps which is to be followed from the business side perspective. We'll put all the process flow, and along with that we'll put up some of the action which we have to take in SAP. We will not put any configurations, will not put any activity of creation of some data, nothing in the business blueprint. We'll just put the process flow of the business as is and what need to be managed in a SAP system. Okay, SAP terminology will be very new to a, business user, so that time you have to give a lot of knowledge to them, understand them. Okay, this is called purchase order, this is called goods receipt, this is called invoice posting, and this is called contract. Okay, we have to explain them, or else they may ask questions, why I should go with the contract, why I should create contract in the SAP system. I can go and create SAP purchase order directly. What is the reason behind to create a scheduling agreement, right? So every business process you have to explain them in a best way, that this is the action you can do, means which will you can differentiate in a best way. Okay, and you can track in the best way, and each transaction has additional field which you can enter, and that data will be stored. You can tell the difference of purchase order and scheduling agreement, how it works. Okay, so that kind of when you go and convince client, right, then you should have a best knowledge about the application wise. Okay, and the front end and back end also, how it works. I think this is clear till now. uh, Project preparation and business blueprint is clear for all. So let's get into the realization phase. Please make a note of it if any doubts you find in the screen. So make a note of it, and we'll have a open Q&A session at the end. Okay, definitely I will answer all your open questions. Okay, and in the realization phase, please note of it, that's it. Okay, write them somewhere in the notepad, or you can type also in the chat box, anything is fine. Okay, so what exactly we do in the realization? So we are not jumping directly into the realization phase. Okay, so we will analyze as much as possible in the blueprint level only. Okay, and then we'll go for the realization phase, where we manage to handle two levels of configuration. Okay, what is two levels of configuration? One is baseline configuration, another is final configuration. What is baseline configuration? See, baseline configuration which covers majorly the basic configuration which is required to run the process. Example, you take organization structure creation. definition, assignment, all that, which is called a baseline configuration. And also document type, NB, whether it is available or not. All this baseline configuration, we'll look into it and whether it is working well. Okay, by doing all that configuration, we'll test it once. Then we go for the final configuration. What is final configuration? There will be like critical process kind of pricing procedure and release strategy, like which they want something customized one. They want to go with the multiple special procurement activity with different document type, different number ranges, and they want to have a different material types, right? And there will be like somewhere configuration required on the purchase order field selections, right? Or PR field selections, or they want to go with the batch job configurations and all, right? So all that like a final configuration, we will not touch in the initial baseline configuration. Okay, so that time we will work on the, we'll split into the two levels, which is like first we consulting team helps to configure for the baseline of the system. It's called the baseline configuration. And there will be like a more business process, meet all the business process and requirement as for part of the fine tuning. That is called final configuration. Okay, so that we will break two levels and we'll work accordingly. And don't think it will happen in every organization. It depends on the process, how they follow and implement. Okay, and see, when you talk about any configuration, after doing all the configuration, you have to do the testing, right? Okay, so configuration testing is mandatory. It's not like we'll do everything at the end. Okay, whenever we do some small changes, also small configuration also, before moving the configuration from a development system to testing system, or maybe development to a any other system which we are moving and testing, right? Always we do simple process of testing. At least for module, we will create some purchase order, purchase requisition, GR part, invoice posting, right? General process, we will test it whether all the data is coming. Example, you imagine you created material group, okay, you created industry sector, or you have created material types. At least you go and just test it whether it is coming or not in the MM01 screen. Or when you create purchasing group and you go to purchase order and you test it by adding the all the information, whether it is drop down is coming with this details, descriptions, everything it is coming. When you save it, oh, everything is going well, so there is no error. If you work on account assignment category side or item category, or there will be like kind of a linkage with PR and PO, right? This document type you create, then if you have a linkage between that PR and PO, then it works or not. So you have to do the basic testing on the configuration. That's called configuration testing. Okay, then you have to give knowledge transfer. Okay, so once the phase is completed, okay, this configuration relation phase, we have done this configurations and everything now available. Okay, then only the testing will taken care by the business users. There will be super user, or maybe business user, or maybe SME, subject matter expert, whoever it is. So they will take ownership of testing the system from their end also. Okay, which will be available in the quality system. So they come up with all the scenarios which they want to test it, and we create some script also, user acceptance test with multiple scenarios. Like example, there are 10 scenarios are there. Okay, first scenario is talking about like you want to create a standard procurement process, direct procurement. There will be indirect procurement, there will be subcontracting, consignment, and RTP, whatever it is. There are multiple business process will be there, and we will create all the scenario in the system, sorry, in the Excel sheet. We'll put up into Excel sheet this process to be followed, and then that will be tested by our end also once, to before handing over to the user, and they will do all the testing activity for the configuration which we have done in the system. Okay, and also while designing or configuration anything, right, there will be like two levels of configuration. Keep in mind, this is the interview question: local configuration and global configuration. Okay, what is the two types of configuration? One is local configuration, second is global configuration. Okay, so local configuration is like what? Let me add one point here. Note. Okay, local configuration. Wait. local configuration and global configuration. This is the major question asked in the interview. Okay, keep in mind local configuration and global configuration. What exactly these two things in the system? I'll make it more font. Okay, so local configurations, which is like specific to the plant. Okay, example, you may have many plants in the system and they look something configuration is specific to the plants. Okay, I want this checkbox to be configured. I want this kind of setting for this particular plant. Example, imagine negative stock posting. Okay, negative stock posting will be specific to this particular requirement. Then you should imagine, understand whether it is a local config or a global config. That you should tell to the business, because business will not understand what is local, what is global. Global means it is like overall. Okay, if you change this setting, this is configuration which will apply across all the system. Example, you take document type NB creation, right? So NB is like a global configuration. You cannot manage to have NB for only this plant, only this plant only. I can go and choose the document type. No, that is not possible. Okay, and you want to have any purchase order creation after GR is done, so that can be managed through local configuration also. Okay, so that you decide whether specifically they want for the respective plant. Okay, they ask us to do this, then we'll consider this as a local configuration, or else we'll take it as a global configuration. Okay, so this is a simple understanding you should have local and global configuration. Okay, then once all this done, we'll go with the final preparation. Okay, so this phase is like generally merges with the phase 3. Okay, we are not doing much in the final preparation. Maximum you have done the configuration in the realization phase and you have tested all the activities maximum in the realization phase. Then we manage to have a cutover activities. Cutover activities means, in the sense, you just imagine in the final preparation where you can have a lot of open data. Okay, master data, metal master creation, supplier master or vendor master creation, info record creation, source list creation, or there will be purchase requisition, open PR, open PO, open stocks, open invoice. Example, they are doing many things in the legacy system or other ERP system. All the data need to be cleansed. Okay, need to be cleansed. The best data will be taken into the SAP system. So that time we have to work out on the majorly on the data migration only. Okay, so here what happens, we will work majorly on the process where we find the data accuracy of data. Okay, whether this description is fine, or this material length is fine, whether we can go and upload. Example, we have set some number ranges like internal external number ranges, and business will give some data which may be a different kind of data. So whether it is rightly put into the documentation, like into the uploading file, all that things we will manage to handle in the final preparation, like cutover activity. And we decide also whether how many weeks it will take to get all the system into the production. Okay, uploading all the data into the production. We will not do everything into the production directly. We will manage to test it also in a mock, in different mocks. Like first we test in a development, then we test in a quality. From there we will find so many errors we will get and we will solve it. And while doing the uploading of data, we will use different tools also, right? We used to follow in ECC, LSMW and all. Now we are going to use LTMC in SAP methodology, like in, sorry, activity methodology in HANA, right? And even latest 2021 version has SAP given own app is there. Now there is no LTMC at all. Okay, there is a own app which uses to handle the data migration activity called migrate your data, like that. So SAP is coming up with many things in the data migration activity. So in the final preparation of ECC implementation time, we used to go with the preparation of the data, and majorly the data migration activity will take care. This is called cutover activity, and we will put all the cutover activity process. Example, there will be roles and activities. Some roles will be given to the buyer, inventory person, storekeeper, or a production guy, MRP controller. There are many roles given by the business, and we have to analyze, okay, this part of roles are really managed well, and how to contact security team, how to contact basis team in case of data inconsistency while uploading the data into the system. So we interact many people other than the functional also. Okay, functional we definitely connect with SD, FI, or PPQM, whoever it is, where we find integration with the process. Definitely we have to reach out them to get all the data. Like if you talk about GL accounts, we don't know anything about GL account, then we'll reach out the finance team. And you talk about the STO process, where delivery related SD configuration need to be done, then definitely you reach out to the SD side, configuration is done or not, or else you cannot test the STO process. And then there will be like PP and integration of bill of material creation and all. So we have to reach out to the bill of material creation is done or not. If you know some knowledge on that, you can create also as consultant, and you can test also. But at the end, that is a ownership is taken by a respective module consultant. And you talk about inspection lots generation, checking of the material specifications, and giving a going with the user decision. All that will be taken care by a quality management consultant, like that. Okay, so in the final preparation, we need to gather maximum information to upload into the production system. Okay, where we cleanse the data, and we'll try to manage the things in a well way. And also we will take all the actions, precautions, preventive action if something goes wrong in future. And while uploading the data into the production, we will take care of all the activities. We will connect with the business user that, okay, if any open things are there, please always check it whether it need to be uploaded, or if something created in the system, then it is difficult to revert, we can delete it, no issues. But always when it is fresh, right, SAP system, we always put something good data. Okay, and somewhere they will be not ready to do all that activity. They say we are keeping this data from 10 years, we want to save this somewhere. Okay, that time you have to educate them what is the reason of keeping this in the system, whether it is really required. Okay, very old data is not required, we have to burn out. Before burning out, we should tell them, okay, this purchase order from long time, why you are uploading into the system for tracking purpose, then you can keep somewhere in the folder. Okay, after some time you only understand that this is not required, you can refer whatever information required in the SAP system. Okay, somewhere invoice is not posted, GR is done, then definitely it's open, you have to upload into the system. You have to create such data in the SAP system, and that time you should inform also to the supplier or to the customer, or wherever the data is flowing out of the system. You have to update them, we are doing this cutover activities, you can get some data to your system inbox, please ignore. You have to send a mail also, business should send an email saying that this is the process we are doing, and definitely you may get some data into your system, please ignore, or you can raise immediately to this respective team, they will take care of such problems. Okay, so once final preparation is done, then we'll go with the go live and support. And there will be two go live date, one is technical go live and functional go live kind of. Technical go live means we manage major things of uh, uploading and making system ready. Okay, and we'll put the date also, this date which this will be go live, and then they can go and use the system. So they cannot use directly production system without having any knowledge. We will guide them, we'll train them, and we create some user manual also. Okay, to follow this step. Example, you all have learned gone through this SAP module, somewhere we guided you step by step process, and you prepared some documentation, right? The same way we, as a consultant, we prepare simple flow of steps what need to be followed, how to create material, how to create supplier or vendor. So all that steps we will create, we'll document, we'll make it as user manual. Okay, training guide or something. So we'll guide them to use. And couple of weeks we will be there with them, at least support for 1 month, 2 months kind of. Okay, the 1 month support will be there on the on site to guide them on each and every process. And if they find some problem, if they ask us to handle the situation or solving the issues, doubts, normally you guys put up some issues right here and there. I am facing this problem, that problem, like that. We go and help them to manage the process in a best way. And it is not like end of the project, where we give a regular support to them for a 1 or 2 months as a hypercare support. Okay, once every production data is ready, we have to manage here and there for the hypercare issues also, which is critical. Something is not working well and all. Somewhere they may find problem in the system even after following all the steps also, right? Somewhere they don't know how this master data and transaction linkage will be there. Like, it takes some time to digest the things which is very new for them. Okay, after some time they'll be very good to handle the process. Okay, hope this is clear for all. Okay, now we will be talking about the activate methodology. Here I am not stressing much about the all the process, because already you know about the implementation methodology in ASAP. So here we have a 6 steps which you have to follow: discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, run. These are the 6 steps to be followed. What exactly we manage in the discover phase? Discover phase, normally SAP ECC is implemented. Okay, imagine client knows many things about SAP. Okay, now we are trying to tell them, you discover. We will hand over the system to them, okay, to the client, and we'll ask them, okay, you go and discover. Okay, what exactly they do? They'll just first see, okay, so what is the best solution we have in HANA other than ECC? Example, we will ask them to, okay, instead of now metal master 18 character, we have a 40 character, so you can just discover it, how it is going to help you. They'll just look into the system, they'll be happy with that 40 character which added by the SAP HANA in the HANA system. And there are many views also there, which is for MRP and all. Some views are added, and some more few views are there in metal master. Even until unless we are not exploring much on the HANA system, so that will be not sure that whether how it is useful, but we can showcase them. Okay, and they can discover more on that, how exactly they can use this particular solution for their upcoming in future. Okay, that's called trial solution. Okay, we'll give a free trial solution, and ask them to check the features and functionality. Okay, and then they will understand more about the process and all, and implementation life cycle. So once discover phase is done, then we go for the preparation phase. Okay, the preparation phase, we generally go with the same process I discussed in the project preparation. Project preparation and prepare phase is similar. I don't see much difference with the HANA and ECC. So most of the activity we follow the same. And here we may get into the partners and all. Okay, and high level discussion happens, and we will discuss about the escalation matrix, because now this is ECC to HANA implementation is like they may come up with more escalation, right? This is to be done quickly, and if any Z transaction, that how you go and manage in the SAP system, there are a lot of escalation will be there. So we'll have an escalation matrix to whom they have to reach out in that cases. Okay, and we call it a project kickoff and all, right? How this will happen, uh, uh, the business team and project team, IT team will discuss more about what I can say, the hierarchy, all that. Once everything there, project manager involves all the IT side, and even managers from the business will involve all the stakeholders, business users, all that, and discuss together, and then they will decide to go ahead and start work on the explore phase. Okay, so explore phase is like, okay, here in the preparation phase we managed to prepare some of the questionnaire also. Okay, some configuration related assessment questionnaires. Okay, and we will work on the project delivery dates, all that. Okay, majorly we go with the preparation phase or prepare phase. Explore phase, this is a major thing I have seen in my experience in the HANA implementation, where we will work on the complete flow. Okay, we'll prepare some of the process. Example, imagine any special procurement process, or maybe on the business partner creation. So each and every process we will prepare one presentation PPT, and we'll go and discuss like a expert. Okay, already they know SAP before, they have used SAP ECC for a long time, and now you are getting into HANA, and we talk in a best way that okay, what need to be followed. It's called exploring. Okay, talking to the each other, and okay, we are asking them what need to be added, whether this is okay, this need to be followed, this is a step to be followed, and it will be like brushing of the things, because from long time they'll be using SAP, they don't know some of the areas to be explored, right? So that we will discuss. SAP has come up with this things, so are you aware about this? If not, we'll explain more on that. And if they don't know anything about the MRP live and all, we'll explain that. If they don't know anything about the flexible workflow or a BP creation or BRF plus, like there are many concepts which you have gone through that, right? HANA side, what are the delta part are there? We will discuss much on that in the explore phase. And in that phase, we will understand whether this is going to fit or not. Okay, this process is getting fit with their system, or they may need something additional feature or anything, like they may say this process I want to include or additional to this existing process, then it will call a gap. Okay, gap means what? SAP best practices given all the like data or configuration, everything ready, and even after we go and explain them SAP best practices, they say no, I want this thing to be added, or I want this screen to be changed, like that. That will be taken as a gap. Okay, then we analyze the gap, particular gap, and then we decide whether this gap need to be implemented, means need to be developed. Then we work on the business requirement documentation, BRD document. We create that document, what is their requirement, whether it is achieved or not, all that things we put into the document. Then it will go for the approval, and that gap is across the global, is it really important, and they will decide from the business side. Because in the explore phase, all will not able to join the sessions. There are many people will join, there are many people, few will not join, somewhere that will be there, right? So that all the gaps we'll put into the in the Excel sheet, and we then propose these are the gaps, and we create simple documentation of this gap which need to be implemented, and will propose. And there will be board meeting from the business side. They will take all these changes are really required, is it really impacting their business process, and after implementing this, so they are going to get some benefit or some profit to the organization, then they decide to go with that gap development. Okay, and once it is approved, then we'll do more on the uh, requirement documentation, testing related things, all that we prepare the documentation, and then we start doing the changes with the support of ABAP consultant. If it is really like ABAP consultants are required, definitely if any gap is there, so majorly we will connect with the ABAPer to work on the new developments. Okay, so this is normally not done in the initial stage of the implementation time. We'll keep it as a different phase also. And along with the implementation, they want to do this changes implemented, like recently have seen, they wanted to have a purchase register. Okay, it's a report development where they want to see all the end-to-end activity in a single report, from the purchase requisition to purchase order, then GR, then invoice posted, whatever it is, right? Some fields to be available in the report, which is not accessed through any standard report. Okay, then it is called Z report. Or there will be requirement like they want to have what I can say, sending an email to the vendor in a specific format. Okay, and they don't want to go with the existing standard template of SAP given form. Okay, they want to work on their own form printed for the purchase order, right? And they want to have a what I can say, different table need to be stored. Okay, standard table they don't want to go away for the new field which we are going to add in the development. So every changes or development which is apart from the SAP best practices, right, which we are going to develop and we are going to add into the SAP system. So definitely it's like a design change, right? It's not configuration change, design change. Completely the design will be changed from the SAP best practices. So SAP also says like if any design change required or something which they want any development, right, majorly that discussion will should happen during the explore phase, because explore phase is a major thing we decide decision making taken care in the explore phase only. So if you miss out in the explore phase, definitely they may say like why this is not discussed much in the explore phase. When you get into implementation project, right, always focus more during the explore phase. Okay, any open questions or any changes or any development or customers expectation and anything like you want to work on the rise of w object workflow reports integration conversion enhancement, whatever changes, whatever integration with different system, also try to gather such kind of information from the business they are facing from long time. This is the integration is not yet done, and somewhere they are facing problem with the outside portal also. Okay, all that information you have to gather as much as possible, so then you can work in the on the respective requirement. Okay, I'm not going with each and every line by line, so you can read it. Okay, the process wise whichever I explained covered in this particular area. And once all that explore is done, then we go and to the configuration. Okay, here in previously in ACC implementation time, we are not going and checking with business whether this configuration is required, but here it is not like that. In activate methodology, definitely business user should have a knowledge about SAP also. Sometimes you guys expect everything to be handled by us, right? By coming with the very blank mind, you come and just sit in front of system. That is not entertained during the implementation of HANA, which ECC already there. In case ECC not there, they are from legacy system, they have never used SAP before and getting into HANA system, and don't discuss much about ECC because that is not useful. Directly talk about the HANA implementation, HANA system, HANA product, only HANA, that's it. Okay, the system already ECC is there, then definitely you have to discuss. User should have come up with more on the valid points. Okay, whether this configuration, take their approval only. Don't go and just give suggestion of okay we'll do this configuration. No, take their approval and then you can do the configurations. Okay, and sign off activities will happen. So after explore phase, all the sign off activity will be happen for the configuration activities. Okay, once deliverable like your explore phase is done, then they have to come up and say we are good with the explore phase, and all the discussion happen, and they'll give a sign off through mail and all. So once that sign up is there, then you can proceed further for the next level for the configuration or any kind of uh, documentation you have to do during the relation phase. So you can approach different multiple you can go with multiple sprint also. Sprint in a sense, all the activity you cannot achieve in a one sprint or one go, so you can cut into multiple sprints also. Sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, like that. Okay, for example 1 year project, then you can say that this is the sprint we can achieve first, and we'll make it go live on this date. And in the second phase we work on the additional development activity, because all the development will not happen in one time, right? So that we can manage which is really required in the initial stage of phase 1 or sprint 1, we work out and we'll go live, and they can start using the system. And once they get maturity of using the system, right, so they understand well, then we can move a later stage, second phase, some changes or some development which we are doing, definitely which will help them to use in a best way. Okay, don't think like everything will go live in the first phase itself. It may take multiple phases, multiple releases also. If you just imagine if there are many company code, many region they want to implement in different countries, right? So we'll make it at least 2-3 years project implementation. If it is a small process or the business is very simple, and then you can go with the one time implementation, and you can go for live, and then you can support accordingly. Okay, so majorly in the relation phase we work on the configuration, we work on the UAT process, testing, and roles and authorization. If it is huge, then we discuss more with the stakeholders, with the SMEs, all that. and we decide whether this is the action. This buyer can go senior buyer, or maybe a purchasing head, or maybe inventory specialist, or in storekeeper, whether we can give a Migo transaction to all or only for specific users. All that we decide during the that relation phase only. Maximum things we work out, and there will be unit testing, integration testing, UAT, regression testing. Different kind of testing will be taken care during the in the relation phase only. And this part of testing and all I will explain in one session. Okay, what are the different types of testings, and even I will talk about the business blueprint documentation, configuration documentation, what is RISE-W. There are many topics are there. Okay, so that you can go with one by one. And deploy phase, this is the last phase of the system where every checkbox is ticked, everything is ready, the business faces a temporary downtime, right? So deploy, during deploy, all that we will take care in the deploy phase only. Okay, typically we will take this deploy phase during the deploying part will happen during the weekends, because there will be uh, less effect downtime. If something goes wrong in the system also, it will not impact much for the business. Okay, so during this phase normally the sleepless night for the consultant, because we cannot take a break sometime. It takes like 2-3 days continuously. We will be working on the live time, deploy phase time. Okay, so go live is very critical for all the team members. Like if project is very huge, like there will be 100 plus 200 plus resources will be there working on their project. And just imagine everyone's expectation, like system should be ready and live, and they're going to use another 2 days, right? So that time you will be having too much of pressure also. If anything left out, that need to be fixed. If any configuration is not done, which missed out, need to be configured and transported to the next system. All that, if testing is not done, if any sign up is not done, some mail confirmation is not done, anything, all that will be get it done before the deploy phase. Okay, so once deploy is done, we'll go with the run phase. Okay, this is a general we go with the production system and start working on the technology which we have, innovation whatever implemented, that can be used, and continuously there will be learning for the business user, and we'll support once it is live. And these are the additional info, please go through it. What is SAP ERP now? ECC 6.0 is called SAP ERP now. Okay, and business suite on HANA is like a HANA DB which is used. It's in memory database. Okay, and S4 HANA is a product name now. Everywhere this is the only product used, implemented. Like nobody will go and get into the EC 6.0 implementation. If it is there already, someone will support on regular basis. And if any changes also, development also happens on the EC 6.0 only. Okay, such kind of project if you get, you can join. Okay, no issues. You can learn many things, and once you get all the experience, then you can get into the HANA implementation projects. Okay, we have put all the versions which we have which released from starting to till date, so you can find all the versions, and what are the versions are there on premise, what are the versions are there in cloud basis, you all can see here. Okay, thank you, and let me stop recording.